The government's literally coming out and going, "Hey, so we're being observed by a higher race of interdimensional wah wah wah." People don't care. People do not care. And here's Dr. Stephen Greer. He's been on the alien beat for a long time. And now he's saying that rogue actors inside the government are now on the verge of staging a fake alien invasion across the entire planet. Now, by the way, you realize this is going to be the most ham-fisted thing you've ever seen in your life because of who's doing it?
So, yeah, Stephen Greer is one of those figures out there that probably commands slightly more respect in my eyes than Ben Shapiro does. So I don't know if you know this or not, but my respect level for Ben Shapiro is just below that of a slug. And because I think he's a bullshit pusher. And I think he's been doing this for a while. He's got the crazy man eyes. Now, I don't know if he is saying truthful things. Yeah, we were talking about Bill Cooper a few days ago.
Yeah.
And Bill Cooper, if you want to see a guy that is speaking his mind and not controlled opposition fashion, go and watch the Bill Cooper interview. I think it was CBS, but you can find it. You can find it on the internet. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Internet Archives. Just type it in. Either Milton Cooper or Bill Cooper. Behold the Pale Horse news interview, and it'll pop up. And he's been on the news a couple of times, but that particular interview, he's in his house. I believe he's in his house, or he's in a house, and he's getting interviewed by some news guy. Did you watch that and tell me if he in any way seems to be untruthful? And I've watched enough liars, even the professional ones like Hillary Clinton. They've got certain tells. They've got the little smirk, duper's delight. Greer doesn't have anything like that. Greer just comes off to me like a psychopath. And the way that he moves around the media sphere and winds up on like everywhere, that immediately makes him untrustworthy in my eyes. And he's produced nothing actionable by the public. Nobody's actually doing anything about disclosure. And I'm not inclined to believe that there is this sudden manifestation within our government that we're just going to unleash all of this stuff, without a particular why. And what is that why? And this is what Tim is scratching on, and TruthStream points out in your post right here. Everything done from here on out is going to be the most embarrassing thing that you've ever seen. Tim Dillon just perfectly summed up the entire UFO alien disclosure thing the government has been teasing lately. And why is that? Because why are we receiving this information now? I mean, can we think of some good reasons why the government might be trying to disclose this information right now? Is it because Trump is big on UFO disclosure? Is it because some other professional career politician hacks are in there and are suddenly that their better angels are taking over and they want to be honest with the public?
It goes back to misdirection, I believe. They're doing something very, very spectacular to make you look over here. Focus on this. Don't look what we're doing over here. Just focus on this.
Well, could it be because literally everything sucks in this country right now? We're at the lowest point that this country has been at since the Great Depression.
Yes.
We've got racial tensions that were ratcheted up on purpose for the last 15 years or so. We've got a divide between the haves and have-nots that have grown astronomically. Oh, but we've got more millionaires. No, we have fewer middle-class folks is what you have, because basically, between millionaire and not millionaire, there's There's the middle class.
Not a whole lot at this point.
Yeah, which ain't a whole lot. We've got 15 million millionaires in this country, I think I heard. And everybody else is paycheck to paycheck. And, you can't afford health care without government assistance. And guess who pays for that? And the government assistance sucks. And the healthcare credit went away this year, which wasn't that great in the first place. And we're saber rattling with Russia, where we just got out of the Ukraine thing. Now we're saber rattling with Iran. And then we keep talking about the China stuff, even though we're still fucking trading with them. And you had the Senate, or not the Senate, you had the Supreme Court strike down the tariffs. So that's still in limbo. Just a never-ending bullshit wagon. There's been no meaningful increase to American industry, and I've seen no meaningful actions that would support me in any way believing that there's going to be a future action taken to increase American businesses and therefore manufacturing, and therefore increase jobs here, and therefore increase velocity of money, which is the circular effect that happens when products are made in a country. There are tertiary businesses that crop up around manufacturing, and as a result create hundreds of thousands of jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars, which then funnel back into that economy at the local level first and then spiral outward. And that effect over time is cumulative and builds generational wealth.
Yeah.
And when that was stripped from us over the last 60 to 70 years, well, we get current day America. Could it be that they don't want us talking about that?
Could
the
be.
promises that were made during his campaign, which, by the way, the website, the Agenda 47 website, just miraculously fucking vanished right at the beginning of this Iran debacle.
Well, they had to replace it with the aliens.gov.
Man, I didn't even think about that.
They only got one server, and
Yeah.
they're rebuilding it right now. So
Yeah, still running on Cobalt. They didn't have enough memory for both, so
640K.
still running off a bod phone.
Yeah, there's so much of this. It's coming out. It's all this big release is coming out, and I've seen so many different people's take on it. And I really had to stop and I had to have a conversation with Grok. And I don't know if you saw it, but I posted that conversation. We'll get to that in a minute. But I just basically said, I'm having a problem and I need to talk to somebody about it. This is insane. The world is upside down. It's burning to the ground. And we kind of went through a little bit of stuff. And basically, it did make me feel better. When and it's stuff that I already knew. It's not like I didn't know this stuff. It's just I needed to be reinforced on the things I already knew. But it's the same playbook. They're lying to us to take our mind off of something they're doing somewhere else. And it could be we may fixing to be in a major war in another country. That's not really been settled yet, and we've got things going on in other places. It may be the economy that is fixing to be totally trashed. They're going to have to do a reset to actually get things back to normal.
Well,
and I don't know how that's going to work.
Didn't you hear? Apparently, we're going to do something about Cuba.
Yeah, I did hear that.
I'm just like, okay. First, it was we're going to annex Greenland, or we're going to buy Greenland, or we need it for national security, and then
then
Canada,
we're do Canada
first state. Yes, yeah. And now,
well, it was Venezuela.
And Venezuela. We captured the friggin' president of Venezuela, or the prime minister, or whatever, because that's just something that We do.
We're helping out the farmers and ranchers in Argentina because we're buying their cattle, but not ours. We're going to pull all of our troops out of all the European countries, and we're getting out of NATO. We're going to shut down all the bases in Germany and Italy and Spain. But we're not going to get out of Ukraine. We got to stay, we got to have people over in Ukraine to help them figure out how to shoot those drones and missiles that we've been sending over there.
Well, of course. I mean, they probably had multi-year contracts signed with the military-industrial complex, and they have to get their promised money for that engagement. So we got to drag that shit out.
I'm sure they got their money and they've already spent it. Most of those guys that were over there in Ukraine are not even in Ukraine anymore. They're in the Bahamas or.
Chris Hinckley or I think Michael Rivera actually also talked about this, that there was a general or maybe several generals at the time during the Vietnam War that had a plan that would have ended the war in a month or 2 months or something like that. We could end this right now, or in short
but
fashion.
That wasn't the plan.
But that was not, that was thrown out because that didn't meet the time scale that all of these different contractors wanted to be able to hit their, stock market quotas.
Their quotas, yeah.
Their numbers. So the war was dragged out intentionally longer. More lives were lost on both sides, more civilian casualties, because number has to go up.
It's interesting that you brought that up, because since the end of February, it seems like every so often somebody is shorting the market on certain goods and they're making a killing. And they're repeatedly doing this. Now, somebody has insider trading. We don't know exactly who that is, but somebody's making a lot of money off this what is it, police action? Because they don't want to say it's a war. This military incursion. Somebody's making money. It's not us.
Well, I'll tell you this. It's either insider knowledge being traded and or someone is using these LLMs, the real stuff, not the garbage,
the stuff they give us.
not the garbage M- puking versions that they give us. Someone has access to the real fucking McCoy, and they're running probability scenarios through these things with all their data centers. I mean, I can name some of the likely
candidates
or candidates. Yeah. The first one that comes to mind is Grok, because of the sheer amount of the volume of electronic hardware components that they're amassing to build their super Grok cluster.
Yeah.
But it could just as easily be Google or even Microsoft, or maybe hell, all of them are cloud seeding their processing power together and gaming this shit. Yeah, who the fuck knows? But this is not the work of an uninformed person. This is the work of some people that or maybe maybe it's Ingo Swann from the Stargate program, and he's playing the stock market now, or the Kalshi or Poly market, because that's where a lot of these big swings are being made too. And I have a feeling we're going to see some huge investigations into those two platforms in the very near future regarding this shit, because it can't keep happening. And a lot of this has coincided with, days or even sometimes hours before Trump gives an announcement about something.
Yeah.
So people have speculated that it might be that somebody in the Trump family or even Trump himself doing this, allegedly.
Allegedly.
In Minecraft.
Yeah.
Which it very well could be. Because, he's shown a tendency to,
Pure speculation.
a predilection to rug pull his own constituency.
Pure
with,
speculation.
with shit coins and
Never happened.
and other stuff.
It's interesting because there's a particular account on X. It's a frog account. It's a Pepe account, and this particular one, he posted a long string of numbers today, and I just didn't. I looked at it and I thought that looks like an Ethereum wallet number, and I grabbed it and I threw it into Grok, and sure enough, that's what it was. It happens to be his own meme coin. It's about 100 and there's about 194 of them out there, I think. They're not making any money, but I just wonder if that's maybe Elon's got a secret account that he's been posting on. Because there's some really interesting stuff that comes up on that account. So I just wonder sometimes if that's what's going on, and maybe he's giving us a clue as to what's happening. But
well, I've not seen him pop up in the media anymore. I mean, he's really tucked his tail between his legs.
He's got his head down. Something's going on. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Maybe they had him sign a non-disclosure agreement or a gag order or something. You can't be a public person for the next however many days. I don't know. I've seen a couple of his
3
posts.
years. You can't talk about this for 3 years. So
yeah. Ever since his fallout with Trump over the JE files.
Well, but everything supposedly got fixed. They shook hands and they're best of friends again. so it's said, but again, that could be another fabrication. That's the thing. Everything is just a show. Everything is a drama. Everything is a play. They're all actors. They've all got a script. And we're just watching it. We're just watching it play out. And you can, all these people are throwing fits about different aspects of it. Oh, we got this. I'm not gonna bow down to aliens. I'm standing by Christ. Okay, just calm down for a minute. Do you really think that's what they're gonna do to you? They're gonna try to take your religion. They can't possibly do that, because the one thing you're not gonna be able to strip is Christianity. It's just not gonna happen. There's too many people that are involved. They're not gonna let it go. But there are other aspects. People are having, issues about the financial system, and everybody's just bitching about, oh, I got $10 gas out here. Yeah, you do. Not going to get any better. You can bitch all you want, but it's not happening until they do something different.
And the funny thing is, the gas price is the only thing that it seems like is allowed to ever decrease. Everything else, static. Yeah. So that and eggs, because I don't know, for whatever reason that Trump got obsessed with the egg prices, so those had to come down too. So we're all going to be on an egg diet, because that's going to be all we can fucking afford. And I don't know what's gonna happen with the gas prices. I anticipated, and I'm still kind of thinking, they're gonna try to shove electronic vehicles down our throats again.
Yeah, I think that's a failed cause. I don't think they're gonna go anywhere with that.
Maybe they'll pull the same shtick that France tried doing a while back. We're gonna go to hydrogen.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, in that aspect, and I saw a interview this morning. I think it was Tucker was talking about, and he showed a particular interview with Trump. He said, I really thought by now it would be $200 a barrel. So it's only like 110. I guess we're in a really good place right now. So you were planning on it being $200 a barrel, but it didn't happen. So okay. I just, I'm concerned about what's happening to the American people because they're all getting this upset. Everybody is upset. And let me bring this one up because this really does this is what kicked me in the butt this morning. This guy posts this, fuck the system, revolution is the key. And I'm seeing a lot of these. This happens to be an anonymous account. But there are a lot of people that are actually with this mentality that we've got to take up arms. Guys, that's not the way to do this. That's just going to get you thrown in jail. Okay. And so then I put this up. Revolution is not an answer. Fuck the system, but revolution is not an answer. The system is promoting this kind of thought to target and round up dissidents by way of their new artificial intelligence web. Don't fall for the system's psyops.
Yes. By the way, everything seems to circle back to a few different TV shows for some reason.
Yeah.
At least in my screwed up mind. But Person of Interest, way ahead of its time. I believe it was, I think the first episode came out in 2012, I want to say.
Yeah.
4 seasons it ran. The last season, maybe it was more than 4 seasons. I don't remember. Fuck it. But it was the last season. You had the Samaritan AI, which was, I guess you call it the evil version of the machine that Harold Finch made. The defense contractor version.
Yeah.
And the defense contractor version was basically given complete control of the intelligence community. And it started recruiting its own little task force of minders to go out and round up wrong thinkers.
Yeah.
And assign people that were part of the agenda to, various tasks. Sometimes they didn't even understand what they were doing. Part of this operation, they touched on this a few times, is psychological warfare using the internet, social media. And this was back in the day.
Yeah.
This was over a decade ago now. They were talking about doing this crap. And you're right. When I see this stuff, there's one of two things going on here. Either A, it's organic, or it's organic and you're being fed it because the algorithm and it's picking up on your dissident mindset, which is spooky enough in and of itself. But hey, I mean, algo is going to algo, and that's what it's designed to do. So I guess it makes sense. Or B, it's like you mentioned, it's some kind of agent of the machine, the Samaritan machine, rather. I may not mix the two up. It's an agent of Samaritan, and it's trying to do exactly what you just proposed, which I'm inclined to think it's equally possible.
My concern is it may not be our system, that it may be another country's system.
Could very well be.
Still part of the machinery that runs this simulation, this illusion that we're all stuck in. None of this is real. This social media, this is crap. Go out and hug a fucking tree, man. Go touch grass. Get off the computer, because this is bullshit. Trust me. I know of which I speak.
I don't know what I would do without the computer at this point.
I know, and I have the same addiction.
To be fair, man, I've been like this since I was little. Like the computers have been my obsession since I found out what computer was.
Mine too.
So I don't think any economic situation would have changed my. We detected
Really?
that you were having a dissident thought. This is an alert.
Wrong
This is an
speak.
alert.
Wrong
Wrong
speak.
think detected in your area. Edit this part out. Okay.
No, leave that part in.
Well, edit the
actual, yeah,
Yeah.
I get that, but let me go to this. It was too good.
Oh, fuck me, man.
I was like, really? They got us already.
Jeez.
Okay, let me throw this one because
Sometimes the universe just smiles at you. Logic.
Yeah.
And you just got to wink back.
Yeah. This is my call to action. And this is part of the whole scenario. Okay. And you got to understand when I was thinking about this, I wanted people to understand what we were experiencing is not new. It's just a variation of the same thing. You need to be aware, American citizens, of what they're doing to you. Okay. You need to question everything that's happening and try to figure out who benefits, what they're getting out of it, and what their end goal is going to be. Now, and I tried to put this in as good a terms as I could come up with. So, my speech is not always the best in the world, but I write really fairly well when I think about it. We, the citizens of the United States of America, should not be restricted from asking questions of our government or any foreign person or group that influences American public opinion, policy, and laws. Now, that is a very important aspect because I've been pushing the FARA narrative for a little bit, and that is the aspect of FARA that a foreign person or group shall not influence American public opinion, policy, or laws. That's what they try to prevent them from doing. And so we shouldn't have to be chastised for wrong thinking. We shouldn't be surveilled because of what we might be saying. We shouldn't be targeted or even arrested and then charged for a hate crime for questioning those motives or policies of a government or of persons or groups of foreign entities. Okay. Now, the real main point that I wanted to make was they've lied to us before.
Demonstrably.
They've continued to lie to us, and now it's coming to light. Now, our right of speech is guaranteed by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and even under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Basically, the government has just said, nothing to see here. We know the truth. We've seen all the evidence. Every question has been satisfied by our investigations, and there's nothing more for anyone else to be questioning. Go back to what you're doing. Don't worry about it. When they say that, there's a problem. They're hiding something. They said, we released all the JFK files twice or three times. I think it was three times because they did the first one in the Warren Commission, and then they had like an oversight committee for the Warren Commission, and then they came out again and said, oh, by the way, we've released all of them. Well, we know now because we've had two different representatives come out and say, oh, no, there's stuff that we've not been able to get out. There are other people that have been in the government. A particular spy that I know of from the CIA. Well, let me say he's an analyst for the CIA that has said There are files, like 12,000 of them, that they can't release because they mention a certain group. Can't name the group that was involved with Kennedy's assassination. Now, we don't know that for the fact, but the fact is we don't know. We should be questioning until we actually get an answer. He came out and said, "Are you still asking questions about this guy? We released all those files multiple times. We came out with a binder and said, hey, here they are. We're done. That's it."
Well, in their
Guess what?
In their defense, and just to play devil's advocate here, and kind of a rational take, maybe you might argue, at this point, even if they did release literally all the files unredacted, no one would fucking believe it. I wouldn't.
Well, no, they're probably not going to. But here's the other thing, and that's what Tim was talking about. People don't care at this point. They fucked us over long enough. We just don't care. We've been told since the 1940s UFOs aren't real. And then they're coming out and saying, oh, we have a big reveal coming from the federal government. It's mandated by an executive order to release all this information. Now, this came out just recently in the next post. Kash Patel has the files at the FBI that they're going to release. Why does the FBI, a federal enforcement agency, have the UAP files so they can release them to the public? They're an intelligence-driven and threat-focused national security organization. That's their job. They actually will understand and combat security threats facing the United States. You're telling me now you've had this information since the 1940s. You knew this was a threat to the American people, and you've held it all this time. What is that? Okay? This is a systemic failure of all the federal government to protect the American people and uphold the Constitution of America. Don't tell me I can't question authority or I can't speak my mind. That's our first responsibility. Benjamin Franklin was often quoted, and it really goes back to, I guess, Timothy Leary, but it's the first responsibility of every citizen to question authority. That's our right and a responsibility to ask questions of those in authority, demand answers, and hold accountable any and all who would knowingly and willingly harm America or its citizens, either indirectly or directly. That's what we should be doing. That's what we should be concerned with. Not how much gas prices are. I understand that's a problem. Everybody has it. But that's what Grok was telling me. All this crap is going on. Pizza's still going to taste the same. Taxes still got to be paid. The air is going to still stink. But you gotta do what you gotta do. And this should be our first responsibility, is taking care of our freedoms and our liberties for us and everybody else. And Hoover basically said, no, I'm going to be the head of both. So he called him in the office, in the Oval Office, and told him, no, you're going to be FBI. We're going to get somebody else for the CIA. But we're going to let them be under you. They'll be under your control. That was a joke. Hoover didn't know that at the time. I got this from John Kiriakou today. He accepted it as that. Okay, they're going to be under the FBI. I can accept that. They were never meant to be under the FBI. They were meant to go above and beyond the FBI. And they have. The only way they actually could have existed was to be a completely uncontrolled force. And unfortunately, that's what they've been since 1947. We have no control over them. They do whatever they want.
It's the fourth branch of government, the administrative in nature branch. Yeah.
No, I think it's the fifth. How many drugs have been run? How many guns have been run by the CIA? These operations are not a secret anymore. These are all in the public libraries. You can find the information if you actually go out there and look.
Yes. The stuff that is available publicly is damning enough that these agencies should have been shut down long ago. If we truly lived in a
Sane society.
just and logical and moral society, they would have been shut down and scuttled a long time ago. That doesn't mean that we don't have a use for said administrations. There's always going to be a need for spies because the world is an unkind place. And America does have legitimate enemies out there.
Yes.
The same thing goes domestically. Yes, we are going to have domestic issues at a state level that requires a cross-state agency to handle that stuff.
Yes. I grant you that. But warrantless Pfizer 702 should not be accepted. That should not be something that we just throw away. We're releasing the liberty that we actually have.
I think in order to maintain our liberties, that all of these agencies should fall under the public purview, including the intelligence agencies. In other words, the FBI and the CIA should have elected officials just like the rest.
And the NSA. And the NSA.
And the NSA, all of them. And first of all, they need to centralize all of those so they're accountable.
Well, they're supposed to be under Tulsi Gabbard, the Department of National Intelligence, the ODNI. Unfortunately, do you know there are 17, there may be 18 actual intelligence agencies right now?
I don't fucking know anymore, man.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure I care.
There are 8. It's at least 17. There may be 18 or more by now. And that's not including Space Force. I don't know what they have included in that, but
well, that's DOD.
This is where we've gotten to. It used to be 2 agencies, well, basically 3 agencies, because the NSA was part of that as well. But now we've got 17. Why? This has gotten out of hand. And every one of them they're siloed off. They don't care about anybody else. They do their own deal. And basically, they're not oversight by anybody.
Well, also, it's kind of, there's a lot of redundancy in this stuff too. Like you have specialists in almost every single one of these organizations that could just jump over and do the same job at the other one because it's the same fucking job. Yeah. The FBI has their own cybersecurity unit, their own cyber warfare unit, their own counterintelligence unit, their own firearms unit, their own. And then you have the ATF doing all that. Why do you need the ATF then? What I mean, why? Okay, why do you need the NSA and the GAO? Why do you need the GAO and NASA?
Well, they say because they have separate mission goals, mission statements, and their focus is completely separate. But it's not. It's really not. It should all be lumped under one grouping, one organization.
NASA has classification status. They have top secret missions. They have, even above top secret stuff. These are not agencies that are wholly transparent to the public. I mean, NASA is one of the more public-facing agencies out there.
We think they are. Okay. We don't know that for sure. That's the bad thing. We have no clue what goes on behind those doors. They have a lot of meetings and a lot of stuff. They appropriate a lot of money that we never account for. And that's, the CIA, they get a lot of money from the Pentagon. And so far, the Pentagon has not been real good about being able to account for where money goes. Now, you brought up a good point, because that's where we are. You were saying, they should be under public purview. Okay, that's all well and fine. But what they're going to come back and say is, Oh, but no, it's for national security. We couldn't release that because of national security. Okay? Then you don't need it. You need to find something else to take the place of that. If we can't figure out what you're doing something that we don't need to have you doing.
Yes, and there are specific provisions in currently existing law that you are not allowed to hide criminal activity under the veil of national security. It is not allowed.
Guess what? They've been doing it for years.
And they've been doing it for years. And how many prosecutions have you ever heard of
One.
where that was the case?
One. John Kiriaki. And he didn't even do anything.
And
he blew the whistle.
There was one other guy, well, two other guys actually, but one hasn't been prosecuted yet.
Yeah.
You know the one.
Yeah.
That's Edward Snowden. That was years ago.
Yeah.
And then there was, and by the way, nobody was prosecuted for the stuff he brought up either. And then there was, I think it was before his time was, oh fuck, what was that guy's name that was running cocaine for the, cocaine and drugs out of me in Arkansas? Cocaine is drugs. Redundancy is redundant. Sorry. Was it Barry something? I forget. Fuck, it's escaped me.
Yeah. There actually is a couple if you go down that road, because you could actually you could argue that Julian Assange with WikiLeaks could be lumped into that same group. He was an intermediary. He was obtaining information from those individuals that should have been prosecuted because they were stealing secrets from the government, and releasing them.
Well, most of the time that we have whistleblowers, they wind up either getting not alive or they wind up in prison.
Yeah.
I mean, on to a lesser extent, you have folks that blow the whistle and then just nothing
happens. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing right now. We've had all this stuff come out, about these, and I really have to say that I heard a really moving interview with Thomas Massey this morning. We're just talking about the victims of the JE files, and he knew those individuals, but it wasn't until he heard them testify in front of Congress that it was personal for him, and now it is very personal because he realizes how affected those individuals were by what they went through. And he's very adamant about trying to get justice for those individuals. Now, whether he's going to be able to do that, it's up in the air. He is really a persona non grata in Washington D.C. right now. His name basically carries a black mark on it. If you know anything about pirates and the black mark, the black spot, he's actually pissed a lot of people off. And it's so funny, the interview he had with Tucker, because he was talking about a certain lobby group basically came to him and said, we want you to do some homework for us. We want you to actually do a piece about what we're doing with our lobby. And he's like, I'm not doing your homework. Well, it's okay. You can just take what Rand Paul has done and put your name on it. I'm not taking somebody else's homework and putting my name on it. I'm not doing this. And so now his I guess campaign is really, really hurting. They have dumped $10 million in his opponent. And he said his opponent won't even debate him because he doesn't know anything. The guy can't really carry on a conversation about anything, apparently. He just didn't have a clue about the actual issues that, are coming up.
They're just going to try to beat him with money. Just like they did with the John Ossoff running off Karen Handel.
Yeah.
They're going to throw some guy in a suit with a nice haircut and a nice face, and he is never going to be on the debate stage. And they'll argue, I'm telling you, this is probably going to come out of somebody's lips. They'll argue that I don't want to platform Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
I don't want to give him the respect or the courtesy of a one-to-one debate. He's not worthy of my time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It'll be something like that.
Well, the downside is, he's already seen they've got a AI commercial that's running in his district that is showing him and Ilhan Omar and what's her name?
Yeah,
AOC.
I already see where that's going. I already see where that's going. That's not. People aren't going to fall for that shit.
Oh, but people are. That's the problem.
They're going to have to rig it. The only people you're going to get with that kind of propaganda is boomers that were already not going to vote for him, and neocons.
Idiots.
Neocon folks mixed up with the stuff I can't talk about, but you know what I'm talking about. Folks mixed up with that, with the Schofield reference Bible.
Yeah, well,
and that's pretty much it. If you know, you know, right? And
yeah,
some of us know.
A bunch of us do, unfortunately. And that's where I was trying to go with what I was saying. We know there are foreign agents at work in our government, and we're allowing that to happen. Why? Kennedy tried to stop this to begin with, and that's part of why they killed him. They didn't want to have to be registered. They didn't want people knowing what they were doing. So, whatever. But I think it's everybody's duty to start asking questions of these people and don't let up. We got to know what the truth is. Stop giving us bullshit. You've blown smoke up our ass how many years? And where are we now? We're broken. We're a broken nation. Figuratively, literally, emotionally, psychologically, you've done it to us. Now, unfortunately, they were talking this morning that a majority of people at this point are putting their groceries, their necessities on credit cards at 23 to 36%. That's not sustainable. People are not going to be able to get out of that hole at least for 2 years. I know. I'm in that situation. I've looked at the numbers and it's not looking good.
And I am seeing reports that Walmart is seeing an influx of wealthy people or wealthier people shopping there now because now they're bargain shopping too. I don't know if that's just propaganda to get more feet in the doors at Walmart or what's going on there, or if it's true.
I think it's a little of both. It's probably a little both. But, the fact is, everybody's looking for a deal. They're looking for a cheaper price. And if I can go there, Costco's got some good prices, but not that good. They got a big markup on stuff.
All right, so we're gonna kind of cover some old ground here. This is an article that we went over, a post rather that we went over last stream, but it's last stream is.
Why? Yeah.
It got pulled down by the Alphabet Boys. No, I'm just kidding. My audio was fucked up. It was my fault.
Yeah.
We say violence has no place in a civilized society, and I agree. That's the standard. But what is the remedy when harm is systemic, legalized, and insulated from accountability? If a system can deny care at scale, decisions that foreseeably result in suffering or death, yet those responsible face no meaningful consequences, how should that be understood? As policy failure, negligence, something more serious? Now consider the harder question. When an individual responds outside of the law, violating the social compact, is that purely criminal? Or is it a signal that the system itself has lost legitimacy in the eyes of some? Two wrongs don't make a right. One act is direct and visible. The other can be diffuse and bureaucratic, but both raise the same underlying issue. At what point does systemic harm demand accountability, and who in a functioning society is responsible for delivering it? As Michael Rivero oft used to say, are we getting the government that we're paying for? And his argument and mine are a unanimous no. And it's not just the government that is in question here. And this is a response post. And I want to go down the chain here before I get to my response to him. This was a response post to Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch regarding the Luigi Mangione case. And a Jonathan Rinderknecht, who was responsible for the Palisades fire, I think that was last year. I believe this was last year. So you've got vigilantes that are networking on a parasocial level. Tom Fitton said, according to court rulings, Rinderknecht ranted to passengers about accused United Healthcare CEO shooter Luigi Mangione, capitalism and vigilantism. This is from the Associated Press. I'm not going to get into the Rinderknecht stuff. You can look that up on your own because that's not what I'm talking about at this particular moment. Tommy's original reply goes, it will only get worse as younger generations become increasingly disenfranchised from the kind of lived prosperity older Americans once took for granted. And, well, they still do. The institutional safeguards that were supposed to prevent cronyism and monopolistic control have failed, quietly but completely. Housing is no longer a pathway to ownership for many. It's a system dominated by mortgage cartels and land consolidation, locking Americans into perpetual debt, whether they rent or own. The healthcare industry operates less like a market and more like a protected extraction mechanism, opaque, unaccountable, and structurally insulated from real competition. We can insist that violence has no place in a civilized society, and it shouldn't. But history shows that thresholds shift when systems stop responding to peaceful pressure. The founding fathers themselves were labeled criminals by the crown. Legitimacy in the end is not determined by authority, but by outcomes, consent, and the preservation of liberty. I'd say, on that last point, the preservation of liberty, that's an Americanism. I would say it depends on the preservation of the Nietzschean dominant culture. Whatever culture rises to power, the preservation of that. But yes, in America, I would consider this to be an accurate statement. The preservation of liberty, which we've not been good stewards of these last 100 years.
No, we really haven't.
Some people have argued that it all went downhill, during and after the Reconstruction era, and it's never recovered since. But that would be an entirely different stream.
Well, we've done that stream, I think, a couple of times. But.
And why is that? Because I don't see stuff like Luigi Mangione stopping. And the things that we're talking about this evening are things that are on the hearts and minds of every American. This is not unique. We're not having an original fucking idea in here.
No.
This is the complaint department, and we like to just bitch about stuff because there's really nothing we can fucking do individually. But there is a power. There's a certain power to complaining. You get enough people complaining, you get enough din and racket, and then eventually people that actually do have the power and authority to do stuff are going to do it, because guess what? Those people are pissed too.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to wind up with a primary where you're going to have a Thomas Massey on both the Republican and the Democrat ticket, and probably the Libertarian one too. And then what the fuck are you going to do about it? You're getting Thomas Massey, regardless of red or blue. Whoever you vote for, that's who you're going to get, because that is the only person that's going to be electable. And that's assuming we still have elections by the time 28 rolls around.
Yeah.
And you better hope that that is the case, because I don't want to see the nonviolent version of addressing our grievances, of which there are many. And we were made certain promises during the Trump campaign 1.0 that were never met. And those grievances have not been meaningfully addressed. And then we got Trump 2.0. And now it seems like we're doing the Biden thing of making all of the wrong decisions at exactly the right time to make it the worst thing possible for the American, for the average American. If you got 6 figures in your bank account, you're all right. Everybody else below you, fuck you, got mine. You got 5 properties. You got 100 different commercial ventures running off. You're doing fine. Everything's fine. War in Iran. What's Iran? I don't know. I thought that was Desert Storm. I thought that was under the first Bush administration. I don't know anything about Iran. Or if I do, I'm counting my Benjamins because I've got money in the MIC. You guys are a minority. 15 million millionaires or more, or higher billionaires fall into that cap. 15 million out of how many million in this country? And we're not even counting the illegals. And he is single-handedly trashing J.D. Vance's chances of his presidential run in 28. He is single-handedly destroying this guy politically. This is why I think we've not seen hide nor tail of J.D. Vance in months, because he just wants to be the invisible VP. He does not want to be associated with the Trump brand anymore, and it shows. It shows because he does not. Not that I have any inclination or desire to see the cardboard man that is J.D. Vance speaking, because he speaks, but I hear Peter Thiel's voice.
Yeah, he's just a puppet. It's very, very obvious that's what's coming out of his mouth. But I don't know, because he was on target. He was actually brought up for that purpose. Thiel put him in place for that reason. Now they're having to walk it back and say, maybe this isn't the best idea. Maybe we need to start looking around. Well, they don't have anybody else.
The point I'm trying to get to here in my long-winded typical fashion is that outside of that, we're going to get the worst version of things. And I think the powers that be know that. And, there's an argument to be made that's been engineered that way. That's why things are getting as bad as they are. Or they just know it's going to be a consequence of whatever fucking agenda requires us all to be poor to shove it through. I don't know.
Well, they're building up their wealth right now because they know they're not going to be in power the next time around. So let's get our money while we can.
Yeah.
And when the chips fall, we'll still be sitting pretty with what we got.
In much the same way, this scramble, it was just that. It was a desperate scramble by our ally to get us involved in this conflict with another Middle Eastern nation, because they knew support was waning. Public support is waning. And the Zoomers are going to be of voting age by the time, or at least a significant bracket of the Zoomers are going to be of voting age, the ones that are already, by the time 28 rolls around.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a problem. You don't think they're wargaming, projecting out
I know
what the political, this is what all this social media is about. And there is nobody more social media prolific than the Zoomers. They're putting all their information out there. I mean, we kind of all are, but they were steeped in it. They came out of the womb and they got handed a smartphone.
Or a tablet, yeah. Here, have an iPad. But, they knew back last year, was it last year when they said, oh, our biggest weapon in the war, social media. We need to take over X. We're taking over TikTok. We're going to take over Facebook. We're going to take over all the social media. We're going to control all the social media. Because they got smart. You know where they got smart from? Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk said, hey, you guys are not really paying attention to what's going on in the United States and around the world. These kids that you're trying to indoctrinate into your way of thinking have a whole different mode of learning and engaging than what you guys are giving them. And so, if you want to actually win the hearts and minds, you got to take over their social media platforms. And that's what they're doing. It's what they've done the last year and a half, 2 years. They've crept into places and they've started taking over. They're taking over media. How many media outlets now are owned by one individual or one family? And they are very, very much in that group. HBO, CBS, Paramount, Hulu, Disney, go on and on and on. But I don't know, man.
Well,
And
they have to go after the social media platforms because they are. I'm not even say replacing. I think they've replaced a solid chunk of people's free time. And, people are on their stuff while they're at work, too, obviously, in school.
Yeah.
As opposed to traditional media. And that shift has been happening pretty much since the early 2000s.
Since the 90s, yeah.
Late 90s, early 2000s, that shift started to happen. I think the final nail in the coffin was, of all things, well, the bellwether, we'll call it. The bellwether was actually Napster.
Yeah, that was a big nail in the coffin.
The radical free dissemination of packets of data amongst this decentralized pirate network. What sage wisdom did Ben Shapiro share about asking questions?
Why don't you pull that up?
Maybe we should also ask a question. Is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question.
And you're just asking questions. You don't know. This is the game that is played by so many corrupt commentators.
Just a question.
Let me tell you something about just asking questions for a second. Just asking questions is a game for children.
I'm 31 years old.
My son is 7. He can just ask questions. My daughter is 10. She can just ask questions. If you are 50 and you are just asking questions, I don't think you're just asking questions.
No, we're looking for fucking answers, you asshole.
Do you feel called out? Do you feel called out?
I'm looking for a goddamn answer.
If you're 50, you're not just asking questions.
My daughter's 4, and she can ask a question. My kid is 10, and he can ask a question. But you know what? You can't.
Did he glue his eyebrows on this morning? What the fuck is going on, dude? You would think
Spock's,
with the millions of dollars this guy has, he could get, one of those man grooming kits. Yeah, or grooming, or go to the mall, one of those mall kiosks, and you get your eyebrows stitched up like all the women do now.
Level of curiosity is actually quite low. I think that you don't care enough to know or know enough to care.
What kind of stupid thing to say is that?
I think that the vast majority of people who are in the just asking questions business have an answer that they want to suggest, but they know there's no evidence for it, so instead they hide behind.
No. We've presented the evidence, and we've named the parties. It's not just me, by the way. There's like hundreds of thousands of us out here all asking questions, and it's not going to stop until there are answers, and more to the point, until there's, some type of
accountability,
some type of addressing of public grievances. Again, in this case, about TPUSA and the lies that were spread around the Kirk assassination, because there were a ton of them. And at the very least, there's a bunch of omissions that should not have been omitted to the general public's knowledge. because they feel like betrayals of trust. And they feel like betrayals of trust because it seems like all the stuff that's been hidden from us has been things that would throw shade on the official narrative, which makes less and less sense by the day.
Well, they've gotten it now where is it in the media? Is it in the news? Anybody talking about it?
Charlie Kirk dead at 31. Cui bono? Cui bono, Ben Shapiro?
Just asking questions. In other words, they're completely full of
Just a question.
And who's the shut up crowd? What is the no, seriously, who is on team shut up slave? Who is on team just pay your taxes and fight in our wars slave? Who is on that team? What's the credibility of these folks? I mean, I don't even think PDB's on this
Not
train.
anymore.
And
Not anymore.
he's usually aboard the narrative train, but
No, he's not anymore.
You know what's weird? Almost all of the old guard has either shuffled away from the stuff or they're on the other side of it with us. There's only a few of them left anymore, and nobody's taking them seriously, except for the people who aren't going to be around in a few years because they're 90.
Yeah.
What are they going to do when the boomers aren't around to vote for this bullshit anymore?
Well, that's why they're going so hard into the churches. They're trying to indoctrinate the kids in the church because they have a large monopoly on the evangelical churches. Those individuals are very devout in their religion, and the families keep their kids in the church. They're not letting them out. So they're whatever the church says, that's what they're supposed to do. And they're going to fall in line unless they start waking up. And I think some of them are, but not enough apparently.
Lovely day. Today is just a rant because I've received many emails from people asking if I would go over the fact that there are car kill switches that are being put in. They want me to read about these car kill switches, and a lot of the emails that I'm receiving are asking why this is an issue that I have not covered. So let's go back to my channel a little bit. Should a car try to detect if you're drunk and disable the vehicle? November 2021. Car remote kill switch, another reason not to buy cars of the future. January 15th, 2022. I spent 20 minutes walking you through this thing from Congress, which apparently requires verification that I'm not a robot to read the laws of my own country. And I put timestamps here to make it as easy to understand as possible. A few months ago, I went over a politician that voted against this garbage, that was voted against in full. And he's also now being primaried in his own district for the crime of not being Epstein class first, and I guess not being sufficiently Israel first as well, Thomas Massie. And in addition to this, on this channel for a long time, I've gone over the fact that car manufacturers will pay people to say that if you have the ability to get access to the data in your car to be able to fix your car, that this hands the keys to China, North Korea, and Iran. I've also gone over many of Ford's patents back when my white balance was a little bit more on the reddish side about them patenting the ability to lip read and emotion detect inside your car. We've also gone over on the channel the fact that a judge has ruled that it's legal for your car to retain all of your text messages and not provide you with a way to delete them, even if you want to sell the vehicle to somebody else.
I just got to stop it here. I don't think Louis Rossman has never struck down any of my stuff before, knock on wood, but YouTube's auto detect feature might if I don't interject something here, because I'm just ready to let this guy cook. That's what he's good at. I've watched all of this stuff, and I almost went back and did a compilation of his stuff, but just go watch his stuff that he's mentioning here. I might kick all the links down in the description for this video so you can go and look at this. All the stuff that he's talking about, it's coming to pass. Now the deadline for this to be mandatory in all new vehicles is going to be 2027. So if you buy a vehicle that was manufactured probably in this year, going forward, it's going to have this shit in it. You get the country. No, let me rephrase. Are we getting the government that we're paying for? How does shit like this keep getting passed? We're still getting the Citizens United rule. You know, it's weird. I thought we had a decision that came down that was supposed to undo all this crap, but we're still suffering the consequences of it somehow. Lobbying needs to be made illegal. It is bribery. It's not a coincidence. You have basically the guy who was the catalyst, along with the lady. We can't leave out MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. We can't leave her out. That our own sitting president is spending so much of his time trying to unseat. The only guy that's talking sense, and I'm not saying, Thomas Massey has some problems too.
Yeah.
Just start ribbing the guy about his buddy down here in Texas that currently owns what was formerly known as Zorro Ranch. It's a little, yeah. I don't. We're not gonna get off on that, Jag. He's got his own problems, and now we're gonna get, like you've been saying, we're gonna get Minority Report, and then part of the machine that's going to be used for this prediction dragnet is going to be your own fucking car, and also. Part of the stuff that's going to be going into that is geofencing. In order for the geofencing to have teeth, there has to be a component that allows them to switch your car off.
So your entire call history and all your text messages get stored in your car, and it is not a privacy violation that after spending $40,000 to $60,000 in the vehicle that you can't delete them. And I've also gone over a lot of the nonsense that happened at National Highway Transit and Safety Administration when right to repair was passed in Massachusetts. And after several years of the judge asking for their input, NHTSA ignored them. And then once the judge finally said, okay, right to repair is allowed to go through, the judge sent out a notice to every major automaker saying, don't comply with it. I've been going over.
There is nothing more personal in your life than your own finances. They determine every other aspect of your life.
Absolutely.
Start to
Everything.
finish. This is why I've been hyper fixated on this issue, because it touches everything and everyone. And I have been alive through the stable times. All of us millennials, anybody in my age bracket, you saw the shift from the pre-digital age, well, the early rumblings of the digital age, to now, and life has transformed and everything has gotten worse. Everything is you Gen Xer in the room too, so you've seen it also.
We thought going into this digital age was going to be the new coming and everything was going to be so wonderful. We didn't have a clue what they were going to actually do to us. They've actually taken all our liberties, all our freedoms, and they've given us nothing. Absolute. You're going to have nothing and you're going to be happy about it.
Well, it's for your safety, don't you know? So here's my original post. There's a few reasons why the business class keeps using the same parlor tricks. The public has a short attention span, the media is controlled by them, and we keep falling for it. Who is this we? I mean, if people didn't learn from the last time, and if people didn't learn from the Iraq war, don't drink their Kool-Aid. And I responded, do we still use fiat money?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is the parlor trick, the parlor trick. This was in response to Upper Echelon's video today. It will be 17 times worse than the .com crash. which was his claim made about the so-called AI bubble right now. More and more I'm seeing these types of comments, and I'm getting those types of reactions from people. Public sentiment is waning. People are pissed off, and some of them actually know what's going on. Some of them. More and more these days, more than I ever encountered in earlier days when I first started covering this type of stuff.